Hello traders, this is Blake Morrow and you are listening to the week ahead video for May 3rd, 2020. I hope everybody's having a great and safe weekend. Before we get started, I really want to thank those of you that were at the Traders Summit this last week. Wow, what an event. We had just a ton of great speakers. A lot of interaction with you guys and gals at home. I think it was a great online event. I think it was epic actually, and I hope you all enjoyed it. For those of you that had an opportunity, and thank you though for those of you guys and gals that supported us. You were there, you were in attendance. Some of you took advantage of the offer that we had for ForexAnalytix for the attendees. So awesome. Thank you all so much. Now, for those of you that haven't taken advantage of ForexAnalytix, it's only $1 for 10 days to try it out. When you do try it out, make sure you download the mobile app, and it doesn't matter whether you have an iPhone or some sort of Android device. You can download it at the respective stores and download the app, because you're going to get the premium version while you're testing it out. It doesn't matter if you choose the light or premium version, you're going to be able to test out the full package. So make sure you do that, and let's get into the markets and what we're looking forward towards next, or into next week. So I guess I should start by talking a little bit what happened last week. Let me get rid of the data flash here. That's part of the ForexAnalytix package, by the way. That's real-time news as it's being released. So last week we saw a lot of big reversals, and I think predominantly, if you're looking here, we have the S&P actually up here right now. This is a big deal to me. The S&P rallied past the 618 retracement. You can see from the highs to the spike lows, down around 2100, 2200. We hit the 618 and actually broke slightly above it and then reversed, and you can see this ascending wedge, right? And we're reversing, we're below the trend line. So what's really important to me going into this next week is any bounce that you see in risk, any type of rally that you see in the S&P, it's probably going to give you a good opportunity to sell into. Remember, we're in that, I know I've been talking about it for the last few weeks. Sell in May, go away. It's a very seasonal time for the markets to come under a little bit of pressure. There was a pretty big event that happened over the weekend, which I think is worth noting. Berkshire Hathaway's, they had their annual shareholder meeting, and so Warren Buffett's in the news a lot. And what's really interesting, I'm just going to sum it up for you. He's not buying here. He's not putting money to work. He's actually quite cash heavy. Now, reasoning being that he missed a lot of the move. He missed the bottom here. But what's more important to note is that he's not deploying money at these levels. But he does believe that there's going to be a lot of money on the sidelines waiting to take advantage of dips. And so, as I've said a lot over the course of the last few weeks, that we're probably going to be looking for a move back towards the, probably the middle of this range here, and we're going to settle out probably somewhere in the 25, 26, 2700 range in the S&P until we have more data on what's happening with the COVID-19 situation. Now, I also read something that's really interesting over the weekend, that if you analyze the cell phone data, whether the health officials excuse me, whether the health officials or administration likes it or not, the United States is basically over quarantine. They're over it. They're done with it. Any which way you look at it. There's a lot of people that are moving. People are staying away from a lot of retail spaces and movie theaters, but people are out and about. Whether you like it or not, whether anybody likes it or not, people are kind of fed up with it. All right, and I get it. I'm just like anybody else. I've been cooped up just like you guys and want to get out and about. But a lot of Americans are like, you can't hold me down. I'm getting out of here, which is interesting, because what that's going to do is we're either going to be paying the piper for that here in the next month or two, or not. Who knows? But whether we like it or not, that is happening. So the reason why I point this out is because I think where the S&P moves, once we consolidate, maybe at slightly lower levels, maybe let's shave off 5 or 10% from where we're currently at, and let's say I'm right, for argument's sake, and let's say we consolidate a little bit lower. Where we go from there after the summer probably has more to do with the economy and whether we have to go into lockdown again, and going into the fall or not. And if things recover, and whether it's because of treatments or a vaccine or whatever the case may be, that is going to determine whether we're going higher or lower. And I wish I had the foresight to tell you as a palm reader and fortune teller that that's what's going to happen in the future. I don't. I'm guessing just like you are. Okay. So, but what I am going to point out to you is technically we reversed at a pretty key level. We are breaking some pretty key support, and I would assume that we do have some sort of consolidation at lower levels. How far we go is probably determined on a lot of other things that you and I have zero control over. Now, I wanted to point that out with the S&P because there are really key developments in currencies that I think that you should pay close attention to. One of them is the Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar, if you take the high to the low, we also failed at the 618 retracement. We had a false breakout for the week. Okay, if you look at the weekly candle, that right there is well, you can call it a gravestone doji, but it still has like a white candle or bullish candle, or a pin bar, or a false breakout, which that it is. Okay, and that's something that we should be aware of because I think the Aussie produces a lot of signals for us as far as growth, risk appetite, risk aversion, and the fact that we reversed at such a key level with a false breakout says to me that selling Aussies on rallies makes sense. One of the big developments over the weekend or over last week, and if you use ForexAnalytix, you go to the patterns in play, you can see the Aussie yen, okay, that we put in last week. It was kind of a layup situation because we actually filled this gap at the 618. I mean, that was like okay, it hit 70 cents, you sell it. That made a lot of sense at that time. But you can see we're actually breaking through this ascending wedge as well. So that means any rally in the Aussie yen, you probably want to sell into. Okay, so those are things that I think you should be aware of going into next week, especially if we get a little bit of risk risk appetite, people buying into on a Monday or Tuesday, maybe looking for a reversal sometime midweek. Now, there are a lot of things happening this next week, and I'm going to talk about the euro here in a second. There's a lot of things happening this next week. One of them predominantly is going to be the jobs report, okay? And we're expected to lose, I think, 2.1 million or 21 million jobs. 21 million jobs, I'm sorry. That's a lot of jobs. Yeah, and an unemployment rate of 16%. That's what the market's looking at going into next week. So obviously the jobs numbers are going to be really important to watch. There are other things that are happening this next weekend, especially if you're dealing with the Aussie, which we were just talking about. We do have the Aussie rate decision Monday night or Tuesday morning, okay? And I have to point out that the Aussie dollar had that false breakout. So it's going to be kind of really important to watch the Aussie as we're around 65 cents if we get any type of bounce. So somewhere around here, let me take the magnet off. So let me grab this, probably right around here. This right there, around the 65 cent level. That's going to be really important for the Aussie dollar with the RBA meeting on Monday night, or for us here in the United States, it would be Tuesday morning in Australia. Also on Tuesday, we have the ISM numbers, the services data. Now remember, the U.S. is a services economy. We're going to be watching not only the ISM data, but the employment index inside of that ISM data. One of the things that I want to point out is with the U.S. dollar, Japanese yen going into this next week, We have been probing below the 107 level. We closed below it, which was, in my opinion, pretty important support. As long as we stay below this red trend line here, and if you watch the F.A.C.E webinars and you're watching us daily, that you know that this trend line was pretty important. So as long as we stay below, let's just call it 107.50, that spike high, the U.S. dollar Japanese yen is at risk of breaking the support right through here, which is the 50% retracement, which could take us down to 105, 20 ish, somewhere down that level. So that the dollar yen, I think, is one, especially with very critical data going into this week with the non-farm payroll, ISM data, that type of information. Also out of New Zealand, we have employment data Tuesday night here in the U.S. Wednesday morning if you live in New Zealand or if you live in Australia. So that information is going to be pretty important. ADP, because it is with jobs numbers on Friday, the ADP numbers are going to be scrutinized. And we'll be paying attention to the U.S. dollar Japanese yen as a result. We also have the Bank of England rate decision on Wednesday morning. That's going to be important. And then also Canadian employment comes in on Friday as well with U.S. employment. Now, the dollar Canadian, I think this is a currency pair we should be paying pretty close attention to, because as you can see here, we have what could be viewed as a double bottom. Break above this trend line, especially a break above this resistance here, then you have a kind of a green light for a move back towards the highs, because that would be the double bottom extension, would take us right back to highs. So what I'd be paying really close attention to is this descending trend line that comes from the spike highs that we put in March. We're testing that, going into the close on Friday. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is I'd rather see it pull back a little bit and then be able to take advantage of a dip early next week and for an eventual breakout of these highs. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, obviously, the opposite can happen too. You can wait for a dip down here, but the fact of the matter is, if we break through this support, we're going a lot lower. So the dollar Canadian, let's just to point it out, is we're developing a nice little wedge here. I'll just, since we're drawing in pink, because pink is my favorite color apparently today, that just this wedge here I think is going to be letting us know that we're going to have a breakout here probably this week. How you decide to play it and in your point of view might be different than mine, which is fine. And that's what makes a market. But I'm just going to tell you that I think we're going to have a breakout this week in the dollar Canadian, which is worth noting. So guys, I want to reiterate, thank you so much for being in attendance at the Traders Summit. Don't think that's the only one we're going to host. We are going to do more in the future, and we're going to have it it's going to be bigger and better, and different speakers and whatnot. So if you found this video beneficial to you in any way, or you think it's going to be beneficial, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching us on YouTube, and also subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our great interviews throughout the course of the week. Dale Pinkert, he's our host with the mostest, but he's a host, not a hostess. Is he? He is a host. He's the host with the most, with the best interview. Anyway, he has some great interviews, so you never want to miss those. So if you subscribe to our channel, you'll never miss those those interviews as they're released. And again, I want to thank you all for all of your support, and thanks for being great. I hope you guys stay safe and healthy and enjoy the remainder of your weekend. I will see you tomorrow morning on the F.A.C.E webinar, and have a great day. Thank you.